The best regular season win percentage since the merger. It's Mahomes, Brady, Lamar right there, number 3. But when you look at the playoffs,
that's our old Jimmy G graphic.
That's right.
Keep going down, and Jimmy G would be on there pretty quick.
Everyone's got a lot of playoff
Purdy?
wins.
He hadn't started enough games yet.
Minimum 25 starts.
Well, Lamar's 2-4, as Stink mentioned, but Brady's 35-13, and Staubach was 11-6. So, Brew, what's your reaction to this?
Well, you said he's getting hammered on social media. It's those last 3 words that you're keeping from getting hammered. Come playoff time. Because when I first saw Lamar as mediocre from Schlager, I'm thinking, what? That's crazy. But when he says come playoff time, and you guys know how much I love Lamar.
Yeah.
He's right, though. Stink is right. Come playoff time, and I got a graphic here that shows you got the winning percentage you showed there, but 33% in the postseason. Everything goes down. Completion percentage, touchdown percentage, interception percentage goes up, but that's worse. And the passer rating drops big time. And look, the only thing I don't think we showed this part, but Stink said, he wets the bed or something to that effect in the playoffs. That's what I disagree. Yeah, I disagree with that part. I don't think it's wetting the bed or the stage is too big. I think he has not been, especially earlier in his career, a great passer, and that has hurt him in the playoffs. Now, if you want to say last year he wet the bed, I think that would be fair. Because I thought he got away from what he really is, which is, he had opportunities that he left on the board. He could have ran against the Chiefs, and he didn't. This is fair, though, because Peyton Manning had to go through this, too. And when you're so great in the regular season, until he wins a Super Bowl, that's it. Until he wins a Super Bowl, this criticism is going to be leveled at him.
Yeah, so it's worse, though, than Peyton's thing. Peyton, 15 trips to the playoffs, 3 times. The fewest points they scored that season were in the playoff game, 3 out of 15. For Rodgers, it's never happened. Josh, it's happened 1 in 5. Mahomes, it's happened 1 in 6, the Super Bowl. Dak, who we talk about a lot, playoff struggles 0 times in his 5 career trips to the playoffs.
Oh, you get some garbage points there.
That's fine, but 0.
Yeah.
For Lamar, it's every single year it's happened.
Hold on, say it again.
Every single year, the Ravens' fewest points that season are in their playoff loss. That's 4 for 4. This year, to be fair, it was tied for the fewest, but it was still, in his 4 career playoff losses, they averaged 10.5 points per game. If you go through his game log every single year and say, what was his worst or second worst game of the year? Every single year, one of them is the playoff game. It is jarring. As far as how often do the Ravens play a game where they just never get going in the regular season versus the playoffs, we can show you this list. Twice in 77 career regular season games, they've never held a lead. 4 of his 6 career playoff games, they've never held a lead. That's all 4 losses. I'm going to do a blind reveal, double blind if we can. One of them, by the way, is Lamar. But we'll show you 2 quarterbacks, and I did total yards because running is obviously a big part of it.
I'm guessing that's Dak.
That is Dak. And Dak's whole thing is the lack of playoff performances. Lamar would kill for those playoff numbers. And so I said it during the year last year, and people didn't like it. I will say it again. There is an element of Rockets James Harden for Lamar until further notice.
But this is all nonsense. This is all nonsense. First off, as Wildes even pointed out, which is completely accurate, Dak's numbers are inflated because of garbage time minutes. You look at his box score for the game against the Packers, and it's like hundreds of yards, all these touchdowns, all this, that. And we know that game was an absolute disaster and an awful game for the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott. So that's a perfect example of how stats and blind reveals are just complete nonsense, and the books are cooked. I mean, Nick literally called out Broussard the other day for saying, well, these stats are a little misleading because of this, that. And then he goes and does something like that, which is just absurd, okay? I mean, it really, really is. And then he's also played, I think Dak was able to run up the score against, I forget which team it was, another playoff team that he was able to run up the score, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? Like, it's just like garbage stats that really boost up his playoff performance numbers. So it's just not correct, right? Now let's look at Lamar Jackson. It's this idea, right, that Lamar's balling out and then he just fails or wets the bed, as apparently they were saying, because that's like what we say now, in the playoffs. That is such a misrepresentation, because now Nick wants to act like it's like the James Harden, of football. In basketball, you're one of five. You live and die by your star franchise player. It all comes down to you. Are you going to be able to have that 30-point, 35-point game? Are you going to be a high percentage shooter? Are you going to knock down the threes, get to the line? Are you going to play a hard defense? It's very specific that is make or break, okay? And if you don't, if you're shooting poorly and you're not getting to the line, you're not getting your points, you're not getting back on defense, you can completely just crash and burn and your team can't overcome it. In football, it's a lot more different than that. Lamar's struggles aren't just because, and don't get me wrong, this has happened to him in his playoff career, but it's not the bulk of it. Because they're painting this picture that, like, Lamar gets under center and then just doesn't know how to play football anymore. That he's just overthrowing guys, making terrible reads, just throwing interception after interception at the feet of his receivers. Like, it's just audibling out of a into a terrible call. Like, they're just acting like he's the one that's just messing things up, and it's just not accurate. Has he played perfect football? Absolutely not. But to me, the blame is square on the shoulders of the Baltimore Ravens as a whole. They have not played well, not just Lamar. You can't put it all on Lamar. It's just not fair. I mean, it's just, when was Lamar ever bailed out of a bad interception like Patrick Mahomes was in this last Super Bowl? Where was Lamar Jackson ever bailed out when Travis Kelce's making these like diving catches all over the field? When was Patrick Mahomes ever bailed out when Andy Reid dials up the perfect play call at the perfect time? Lamar Jackson has not had any of that luxury. None. He's playing with guys that are young and mature, a new OC, a fired OC. I mean, it's just like their game plan has just been atrocious. I mean, it was shocking how bad their game plan was last season against the Chiefs. I mean, shocking. And we all know what happened with, with their awful penalties and then trying to reach across the goal line and fumbling the ball. I mean, like, again, and I called out Lamar Jackson for some of his mistakes, without a doubt. But as we see, Patrick Mahomes makes mistakes all the time, especially in the Super Bowl. The dude throws interceptions left and right in the Super Bowl. Not even against particularly amazing defenses either. And yet he still does it. So I just reject this idea that the lack of success, we just put all on Lamar. It's just not right, and it's just not fair. I mean, Lamar can't do it all himself. He just can't. And then they're just like, well, because then they want to point out how Lamar had a chance to go off on a run, and he got like 30 yards, and they said, well, previously he usually would have kind of taken that for a 60-yard touchdown. And it's like, okay, what type of standard is that? He either scores a 60-yard touchdown or he's the reason why they lose? Like, that's absurd. That loss against the Chiefs is not on Lamar Jackson. Could he have played better? Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I'm not saying that Lamar Jackson is playing amazing football and doing every single thing he can. He's putting that team on his back and is just trying to do everything he can. I'm not necessarily saying that. But to put all the blame on Lamar, it's just not right. It's just disingenuous. The play calling is atrocious. The overall game plan as a whole is atrocious. The play designs are atrocious. I mean, like they left Lamar Jackson all out on an island and were pretty much just like call hike and figure it out. That's what that game felt like. It was like Lamar had the ball and had to be like, okay, what do I do here? There was just no preparation. I mean, it was just, I just don't know what that was. And me and a subscriber, Travis O'Shea, were talking about this. We were watching film of a drive, just a single drive of with Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford from last season, and you see what brilliant play calling looks like and brilliant play design looks like. It's effortless. Just even a basic run, right? Something that just leads to like a 4 or 5 yard, rush. It's just effortless. And you see how it opens up the field. You see the motion. You can see how the motion and the play design and the play setup, just pre-snap, of course, you can see how the defense is now like more on edge. You could see it. You see the movement now on the defense. You can see their wheel, in their mind, their wheels already spinning of like, what's happening here? You can see the confusion starting to settle in just ever so slightly. And that's the difference between now a 1 yard run and an 8 yard run. And that 8 yard run leading to a 15-yard pass. And that 15-yard pass leading to another 10, 15 yards after the catch. It all adds up. It all adds up. You don't even need to understand the film too deeply than that. I never want to get too deep into film study and really talk about the nitty-gritty of it. I want it to be like completely superficial. And when you look at it like that, you can just see the uncomfortableness of the defense when you have a great play caller and a great plays, actual play design itself. And that is what you see then the Ravens completely lack come time playoffs. Seriously, I mean, it looks like a high school team with a really good quarterback. That's what it reminds me of. A high school team that's not that good, but they have a really good quarterback, and they're just like, hey, man, you just got to do it. We have no wide receivers. We have no run game. Our offensive line is suspect. Our defense is kind of okay, but like, you just need to have the ball in your hand, and you're just going to try to throw it when you can, run when you can. I mean, that's what it reminds me of. It really, really does. I'm thinking of a player who I was with, who I grew up with in high school, and that's what it was. He was an athletic freak, and it was just like, get him the ball. Once we have him have the ball, it's just like, here you go. Just see what you can do. Hopefully, you'll just be able to use your athleticism to kind of get some wins. That's what it reminds me of. It's just no actual game plan. And that's not on Lamar Jackson. And that's not an indictment on Lamar's mediocrity or his lack of skill. That's poor preparation and game planning. And truthfully, Lamar Jackson gets more heat for that, and Harbaugh should get more heat. He absolutely should. Harbaugh has been great at kind of escaping that, because it's always on the OC, it's on this, it's on that. Harbaugh needs to have some blame for that. Absolutely. I think Harbaugh is a great coach. So I'm not, this isn't just to say like Harbaugh should be fired, this, that. But like, while he never gets any criticism. Never. And he deserves so. He really, really does. And I just take such issue that everybody wants to act like Lamar plays great. And then, because what they're inferring is that he gets to the playoffs and then essentially he chokes. That he's just not good enough. The moment gets the best of him. Or he's just not good enough to be able to do this at a high level. And I reject that 1,000%. 1,000%. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. Do you think Lamar Jackson is mediocre come playoff time? And do you think it's all Lamar's fault? And if not, where do you think the blame falls? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.